Thank you to the Belleville Philharmonic Orchestra, whom you will hear from also a little later. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Russell Scott. I'm the chairman of the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners and have been asked to be the MC today. I'm also an attorney here in town with Greensfelder, Hemker, and Gale. I get a free plug. So if at this time, this is our rededication of the City Hall, and as you'll see today, if you haven't been in it yet, it is absolutely beautiful. It is more functional than it was before. It will be safer for people to be here than it was before. It'll be more comfortable, and it should last us for a long, long time. I mean, this building is essentially 60 years old, so it's probably right that we rededicate it again today. We will start this morning. The Belleville Fire Department Honor Guard will present the colors. We would ask that everyone please rise if you are able. We ask that you will then remain standing for our national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be presented by 4 students from Roosevelt Elementary School: Dominic Eads, Jackson Ellis, Tricia Patel, and Avery Winchester, and then the invocation from Deacon Douglas Boyer. So now the Belleville Fire Department Honor Guard and the presentation of the colors. Now we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Dominic Eads, Jackson Ellis, Tricia Patel, and Avery Winchester from Roosevelt Elementary School. Will they come forward, please?
Stand right there.
Right there.
Whenever you're ready.
1, 2, 3.
Go ahead. Pledge. Go ahead. Allegiance to the flag of the
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
forward, march.
Deacon Boyer.
Let us pray. O God of every time and place, we come to you today full of gratitude for this time and this place. We thank you for all who have led and guided our city for over 2 centuries. We thank you even for the adventure of temporary offices and moves. But most of all, we thank you for this newly renovated City Hall that will serve as the center of our civil life for many years to come. We come to you today to ask for your blessing upon our renovated City Hall. And as we rededicate this newly renovated building, we ask you to also bless all of us as we rededicate ourselves in service. We pray for our elected leaders, our mayor and our city council, that they will rededicate themselves to lives of service. May they always bear in mind the common good in their deliberations, upholding the dignity of every person. We pray too for our city employees who so generously support the life of our city. Give them strength and maybe especially patience as they carry out their many duties. And we pray for all of our citizens of our city who will come within these walls. May we never forget that being a citizen comes not only with rights but also with responsibilities. Help us all to treat each other as we would want to be treated. Help us always to reach out to our neighbors most in need. And as we honor our past and celebrate the future of this building, we pray that we may be what our ancestors hoped that we might be, a Belleville, a beautiful city. Amen.
Thank you, Deacon. Please be seated. At this point in the program, this is the MC's most dangerous point in his life, when he is asked to introduce the dignitaries who are present. Because invariably, I will miss somebody, and I will tell you in advance that I will miss somebody, and I apologize in advance. And if you're a dignitary, please don't be offended. You're all dignitaries. These are the residents of the city of Belleville. On the back of your program, you will see listed the aldermen and city officials who are all here today. They're the aldermen and the city attorney and the clerk and the treasurer are all lined up here. It's pretty unusual that this is probably the only time in my life I will get to say that the entire city of Belleville is behind me this morning. Besides those people, of course, I see here in the front row the lovely Rita Eckert, Mrs. Mayor, and her daughter Lucy. Next to her, wait a minute here, I've lost my list already. Next to her is Ann Flournoy, who is the wife of General Flournoy, who will speak here today. Next to her is Colonel John Howard, who's the wing commander of the 375th Air Mobility Command at Scott Air Force Base, and his lovely wife Dana. We have with us Brad Cole, who is the executive director of the Illinois Municipal League. We're very happy to have him here with us today. As you probably know, because Mark says it every time he speaks, Mark is the current president of the Illinois Municipal League. And we're very proud of that. We're proud to have, if you think about the entire state of Illinois, I mean, we're very proud to have our own mayor as the president of the Municipal League this year. We have Fire Chief Tom Poors with us, of course, this morning. Police Chief Bill Clay. Assistant Police Chief Jim Sparger is with us as well. And Joe Hubbard's here. Can't have a dedication without Joe Hubbard. So give yourselves a hand. All right. The first person who's going to talk to us here this morning I've met him. I just met him yesterday for the first time. He's a fascinating gentleman, and his. I look. You can go on the website. You can Google him if you want, and go on the website at Scott Air Force Base, and his extremely impressive biography is there. Major General John C. Flournoy, Jr. is Chief of Staff of the United States Transportation Command at Scott Air Force Base, Illinois. He is responsible for the development of plans, policies, and procedures to ensure efficient operation and seamless interface between headquarters staff, component commands, and subordinate organizations. That's pretty impressive. He oversees command policy and programs which support combatant commanders' priorities as the single manager for global air, land, and sea transportation for the United States Department of Defense. Major General Flournoy has a list. He's a highly decorated soldier, airman, and with all his other duties and attributes, he is a command pilot with over 3,600 flight hours, including in his list of aircraft, the B-52. And if anybody's ever seen a B-52 fly over you, you won't forget it. It blots out the sun. I was reading some things about Major General Flournoy, and one of them was, I was kind of surprised to see this, but it's our local connection. He has a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from SIU Edwardsville. He has a big Southern Illinois connection. He once was quoted as saying, although he was born in Alabama, he's been at Scott Air Force Base so many times that he considers it his hometown. So with no further ado, I will present to you Major General John C. Flournoy, Jr.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks so much. Good morning, teammates. How's everybody this morning? Great. Fantastic. Mayor, distinguished guests, distinguished visitors, thank you for the honor just to be here today. I mean, this is an absolute privilege for me to be here. And many of you in the audience are probably wondering, why do we have this Air Force guy from Scott Air Force Base as a guest speaker for the dedication of the renovation of our City Hall? And I was wondering that myself, actually. No, because did you see my transcripts from Southern Illinois there, Mayor? So the reason is 47 years ago this month, I became a member of the Belleville community. In 1970, October of 1970, my father was reassigned here to Scott Air Force Base for our first time, where we lived in little wary housing on the backside of the base. I started third grade, and many of you are going, third grade? He's only 27. How could he be in third grade back then? So, third grade at Scott School North, which is no longer used on the backside of the base, and then I was fourth grade at Scott School South, and then went on to Mascoutah, 6th Grade Elementary School. The reason I say that is that that was the beginning of my relationship with Belleville, Illinois. And the things that I saw and learned, sociologists will tell you that between the ages of 11 and 12 are when we receive our value programming. And I am just so blessed and so thankful that I was here during that time of my life as a young boy, just about your ages, to where I saw the work ethic, the pride, the incredible Midwestern values, and I was on the receiving end of those as a young boy. So I remember Jim Hart playing football. I think he was the quarterback of the St. Louis Cardinals from all three times I was here as a kid, I think, almost all three times. I have very fond memories of this city opening up their arms to our men and women in a very difficult time of our lives, a very tough time during Vietnam, at the end of Vietnam, but opening up your hearts and minds to the men that were returning on Operation Homecoming in 1973. I can remember being out there on the ramp as a young kid and watching the incredible support of this city. And that took leadership during a very, very difficult time. So that value programmed me as a young man, young boy. So I left. I came back in 1977 to attend high school at Muscuda High School, but I was still a part of this community. I remember going to the, there goes the flag. Remember, thanks Dana. I remember going to the skating rink. I can remember going to the drive-in movie theater that's still operational here. I can remember such fond memories of those times. I remember playing football with the Little Knights. Those things that this city enabled me to do, and each time I would move back, I would get renovated. My heart and mind would get renovated on how things are supposed to be. Every time I would move away, I would brag about this city. And I would brag about the citizens of Belleville and this community and the relationship that you have with Scott Air Force Base. My mom worked both times, the second and third times we were here, worked at Krupp's Florist. And I can remember going with her to work, to pick her up from work, and getting to know the teammates there, her teammates there at Krupp's Florist, and the level of support that we had from the city back then. Absolutely phenomenal. In 1983, I returned again to attend Southern Illinois University. My dad was reassigned here, and I was given such great opportunities in ROTC there at Southern Illinois by my professors, and I continued to get my value mapping that has enabled me to be standing in front of you today as a senior leader in the United States Air Force. I owe so much of that to this city and to this community and to this area of the country that puts so much pride and dedication in supporting the men and women who are serving at Scott Air Force Base. And that pride and dedication has happened over the last 100 years of the life of Scott Air Force Base. So there are thousands of kids, thousands of men and women just like me. Many of you are sitting in this audience today who retired from the Scott Air Force Base, but weren't originally from here, but decided, because of what you learned here, decided to stay and be a part of this community. Now, as an adult, now an airman, I was commissioned on the steps of the 375th headquarters building where John is working today. That was about 31 years ago. 31 years ago. I never thought I'd have an opportunity to come back. Because I was a B-52 pilot, as you heard, I was in Air Combat Command. I wasn't in the mobility world. But when I got off active duty in 1991 and I joined the Air Force Reserve, somehow I made my way into the C-130 community in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And then I moved down to, after we closed that base, and moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where I worked. I got to know the mobility community, and then I was asked, would you consider to come to Scott Air Force Base as the wing commander of the 932nd? And they didn't have to ask me twice, I can tell you that. I was so proud and enthusiastic about the opportunity to come here. And that's where I got renovated again, because I met the mayor. I met the men and women of the Bell Scott Committee. I met the men and women of the Leadership Council of Southwestern Illinois. Those folks that are putting time and talent and energy into ensuring that the relationship between the city and Scott Air Force Base remains strong. So I was renovated once again. When I left in 2009 to go to Travis Air Force Base in California, I stole a lot of those great ideas and I took them to Travis with me, because I knew how to do things right, because it's done right here in Belleville, Illinois. And then as I left, Mayor Eckert asked me, Jay, do you think there's an opportunity for you to ever come back to Scott Air Force Base? And at that time, I knew as a full-time reservist, there were no opportunities for me at Scott. They did not exist until November of this last year, when I got a call asking me, I was in Southern California at the time, asking me to consider applying for an active duty position here at the headquarters at Transcom. That didn't take me a second to think about. Would I apply? Absolutely would I apply. So this is my 5th time here at Scott Air Force Base. I do consider Belleville my hometown. My wife got to grow up in one city for her whole childhood, so she calls West Springfield, Massachusetts her home. I didn't have that opportunity. Thousands of men and women serving in your United States Air Force, a Marine, a Army, Coast Guardsman, and Navy. by them coming here to Belleville, they got to experience what it should be like. That's what it should be like. And so that's why I consider Belleville my hometown. And I can't thank you enough for making the men and women that serve at Scott Air Force Base feel like it's their hometown, wherever they're from. They feel comfortable coming into this city and knowing that they're going to be taken care of. And I can't thank you enough for that. So when we talk about renovating buildings, we're not only celebrating the renovation of this building, but we're celebrating the renovation of all of our thoughts, those things that we think about every day, the way we approach things, the way that we do things, and the way that we impact the young people on this front row. Those young people that just stood up here and said the Pledge of Allegiance and led us to that. Who knows where they will be tomorrow because of how you impacted their life today? Well, let me tell you, I cannot thank you enough for the positive impact you've had on me and my life. And now my 11-year-old is attending the same middle school I attended at Muscuda, and he's getting those same core values that I got as a member of this community. So, Mayor, congratulations on the renovation of the building. Congratulations to the city of Belleville, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you do for the men and women of the Scott Air Force Base. Thank you.
Thank you, General. I was sitting there commenting to myself that, you know, all we have to do is have the United States Air Force speak and the sun comes out. How about that? Thank you, General. We appreciate those kind words and very inspiring thoughts. It is our hometown. I didn't grow up here, but it is now my hometown and has been for the last, 40-something years. So as they say around here, I'm not from around here. Next we have our friends from Link. Link, I've known Link for many, many years, and frankly, I wasn't that sure about what it meant or what it stood for, so I looked it up. I'm a Google man. Living Independently Now Center. Link was founded in Belleville in 1989. Currently has its office in Swansea. They are an independent living center, and they strive to assist people with disabilities to reach their own personal goals. I like the last sentence of their home statement on their website. We prefer to be known by our abilities and not our disabilities. So here with us this morning is Lynn Hatfield, who's the executive director of Link. Lynn?
Thank you. Link is proud and excited to be here as well. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Link has been providing services to people with disabilities and their families, like you said, since 1989. We also serve St. Clair, Monroe, and Randolph counties. And we have watched the city of Belleville open their arms, I like that term, to diversity and inclusion of all people over the years. Just an example, curb cuts in our city streets. Also ramps, installing ramps, not only for somebody with a wheelchair, but also for family members, moms with kids in strollers, Aunt Susie who has a walker she needs to use. It is inclusive of all people. They also taught their staff people how to use a TTY machine back years ago so that they could communicate with people who are deaf. They provide Braille. They hire sign language interpreters. That's inclusion of all people. Another beautiful example of valuing diversity and inclusion is, of course, the renovation of City Hall, which is why we're here. I toured this building a couple of weeks ago, and what I saw was not only class, so that we could be proud of our building and our city. But I also saw that you could get in easily. They provided signs for parking, accessible parking, if you qualify for that. They provided a ramp so that even if you don't use a wheelchair, maybe you use a rollator like a walker with a seat, and you need to stop because you have COPD, you stop every few feet to rest, you can get in. You can do it yourself. You can be independent in your access to services. The city helped do that with these renovations. You can also do business of many kinds. Let's start with the bathrooms. They're accessible. There are family bathrooms where if you need to assist a family member, an older family member or a younger family member, they're big enough to do that. You're not scrunched. Talked about safety. That's an important part of creating accessibility. The service areas are accessible. When you walk in, you'll notice that the countertops are lowered. Someone with a short stature, or someone using a wheelchair, or someone who just needs to sit to be able to do their business is going to be able to do that easily here. Bathrooms aside, the meeting spaces are also accessible. They have included places where wheelchairs can sit throughout the seating area, not just in a section in the back. Accessibility features are not just for people with disabilities, they are for everyone, and there are added bonuses. Let's go back to the bathrooms for a second. You've got motion-activated faucets. It reduces the need to have to turn the knobs naturally if you have arthritis or some other condition that makes that difficult. Secondly, it reduces the transfer of viruses and germs. We don't really think about that when we're thinking about accessibility, but it might even reduce staff time from being sick. You know, it's things we don't even think about that are related, and they're a bonus. The meeting spaces where wheelchairs can sit, if no wheelchair user is using that space, I know we've all sat in meetings where we were packed in like sardines. The bonus is you have extra space. There are other things you're going to not notice so quickly. The lever handles on the doors, easy access. Also the widened hallways and doorways, providing easier access for everyone. But equally important to what I saw was what I heard. When I toured, I heard in Mayor Eckert's voice the excitement that comes from being inclusive, from knowing it's right, of knowing our city services do not exclude anyone. I heard questions like, how can I make it better? How can I continue this? We're all just one accident away from being a person with a disability. Just one moment. A big part of our population right now is aging into disabilities. So, creating an inclusive community isn't just for people with disabilities. It's for everyone. The truest example of community is ensuring inclusion. And the renovations at City Hall have done just that. So on behalf of Link Incorporated, I'd like to present this plaque to Mayor Eckert, his staff, and the City of Belleville for all your efforts in creating an inclusive community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It says Lincoln Incorporated congratulates the city of Belleville, Illinois on its accomplishment of creating a more inclusive community.
Thanks, Lynn. Thank you very much. We appreciate this, and we'll hang this proudly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. And as everybody in the room except me realizes, I skipped over our good friend Jay Hoffman, who is the state representative of the 113th District, which of course includes Belleville, and who has long been a very good friend of Belleville, and I know he's a good friend of the mayor, and he's been a friend of mine for many years. And so, Jay, with deep humility, I now introduce Representative Jay Hoffman.
I didn't think I'd done anything to you, Russell. Well, thanks, Russell, and Mayor, thank you. Treasurer Dean Hart, Clerk Jenny Gain-Meyer, all the councilmen, congratulations. What a great day it is for Belleville. What a great day it is for us here, and what a great day it is to provide the services to the people of Belleville they so richly deserve. When you go through, last night I was lucky enough to be here, and there was the unveiling of a painting that shows the partnership that has long existed between the Scott Air Force Base and the city of Belleville. And the painting is of the gates of Scott Air Force Base, the gates that my mother drove through for 40 years when she worked at Scott Air Force Base and ultimately retired from there. And when it was unveiled, I got to tell you, it brought a tear to my eye, not only remembering as a young child, General, going through those gates with my mother and how proud I was of her, because she truly was my hero, but also because I understand how important the relationship between Scott Air Force Base and the city of Belleville has been, not only to the people of Belleville, but also to the members of our armed services and their families. And with that, when you go through, please notice the painting. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's going to be hanging here at City Hall. I'm so proud and honored to be here because I know that local governments, particularly city halls, are the door and the window to our democracy, where you can discuss issues that affect local communities, where you make ordinances and laws that affect everyday people who live in communities, and it is the root of democracy in the United States of America. So with that, I'm honored to present a resolution from the Illinois House of Representatives to Mayor Eckert. It indicates that the members of the Illinois House of Representatives wish to congratulate Mayor Mark W. Eckert and the people of Belleville on the rededication of Belleville City Hall on this date. The Belleville City Hall was designed in 1959 by architect Charles E. King, well known for his mid-century modern design style, which I wanted to just tell you, it's fantastic how they kept the architectural integrity of this building while bringing it up to modern day standards. The renovation of Belleville City Hall includes upgrades and security of the council chambers and the public areas, access, updates to the city clerks and the city treasurer's offices, and a plaque commemorating the renovation will be displayed at the City Hall, listing all the current elected officials. Therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 100th General Assembly of the State of Illinois, we congratulate Mayor Mark W. Eckert, the people of Belleville, on the rededication of Belleville City Hall on October 21st, 2017. Congratulations to everybody in Belleville. Congratulations, Mayor.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it very much. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Jay. It is, Jay had noted that, and it is true that one of the real features of this renovation is how that they have kept the integrity of the original architecture. It really is it's quite remarkable and beautiful. Well, I was going to say, okay, now we're finished with the speeches, but I can't do that. No, we have one more speaker, and we very much appreciate the efforts that this man makes on behalf of the city of Belleville every day. I often refer to him as the hardest working man in show business. If he's not meeting with residents or meeting with the aldermen, he's out on the street picking up trash. He's driving around the city noting potholes. He's a remarkable individual. He spends a tremendous amount of time working for us, the citizens of Belleville, and I'm very proud to call him my friend. So with no further ado, I will present the Honorable Mark W. Eckert, Mayor of the City of Belleville.
Thank you, Russell. Good morning. I guess it's still morning. We haven't hit noontime yet. I haven't been here that long. I just want to say welcome to everyone, a sincere welcome, and a sincere thank you to so many here today. This project has taken a long time. It's been long overdue, but I think if you haven't had a chance to get inside yet, you're going to really appreciate what we've been together, what we've been able to accomplish. I want to say, General, I am very pleased that you could join us yesterday evening and today. Your words were much appreciated and just remind us of family and that we all are family. Jay, thank you for being here. You've been a friend. Even before Jay was our representative, I found myself in my early years in this position where I would call Jay many times, and he would help us get things done. To my two clergy friends here, Deacon Doug, and you'll hear from Pastor Corey in just a minute, they are constantly working to help issues and situations and quality of life in Belleville, and I appreciate what all of you do and your families greatly. Lynn, we thank you. I'm very happy that we were able to take this beautiful building and make it much more accessible. It was long overdue, took time and dollars, but we got there. To my esteemed friends here from the City Council, my clerk, Jenny, Dean, my city attorney, Garrett, who's constantly giving me advice, or I'm seeking advice, one way or the other, and to the aldermen who I have shared your role myself for many years. I thank you for the constant efforts and constant daily things that you do for our citizens. Thank you today to the Philharmonic. You know, the Philharmonic, they got a big concert tonight, so it was really kind of, I didn't know we were going to be able to get them here or not. But, you know, they just celebrated this last year 150 consecutive years, and they are the second oldest continuous Philharmonic in the nation. Thank you. I called my good friend Ethan Edwards, who we went to Henry Robb School together. Now, he's a little younger than me, but his sisters and brothers and I went through Henry Robb together many years ago, and he came through. It is great today to look out here and see the mix of family, friends, and longtime Belleville supporters here. I'd be remiss if I think probably one of the, maybe not the longest drive here today, but my friend Brad Cole, who is the executive director of the Illinois Municipal League, probably is spending more time talking to me now than he wishes he had to. But I have been very humbled to serve in this position. I started September 23rd, thanks to that guy in the back row who was always encouraging me, former Mayor Mike Buellhorn. He was constantly saying, you know, you need to get involved in the league. You need to do, and finally I agreed to go on the board or put my name in the hat. And then over time, I guess they said, why don't you put your name in the hat to run for an office? And it is an honor. And I had to stop and think about it long and hard because here in Belleville, the mayor's full-time. We don't have a city manager. I always say I'm kind of like the chief cook and bottle washer. And but this has been a privilege to serve on the board. It's certainly an honor to serve as the president. And I would not have taken this nomination had it not been for having a staff and an executive director at the league who is active and very, very much everywhere. So I appreciate you being here, Brad, and I appreciate Mike's the past president of the league, and I appreciate the encouragement. This is good for Belleville, and I believe I'm the first mayor to ever have served in this capacity. I know Rich Breyer was headed in that direction, but I'm very honored to fill this year's service. You know, today is a special day, and a lot of people, we've had I look out here and I see a few of the people who were on elected officials in the past. Dr. Silsby was on this council when we took some of the first early votes to move forward and spend the money to do the remodeling of City Hall. I see Linda Fields, who's the longtime city clerk and worked here for a lot of years in these buildings in a lot of different positions. I look around and see retired Fire Chief Fred Bruce. He was here, I think Fred started in 1949, and he and my father was a police officer and Fred was fireman for many years, and I appreciate you coming here. I look in the front row and see Tom Renner, the last of the men from the original group of 6 from the Renner Funeral Home, but Tom has always been here for Belleville. He's always supportive of what's going on in this town, as that gentleman to the right of him, Joe Hubbard, who's always taking care of the poor and people who are less fortunate. It's just amazing to look out here and see so many faces of people how much you care. And that's why Belleville has stayed strong for 203 years. We thank Art on the Square for providing the reception today, and they helped us last night with a program for developers. And that committee of 16 years has been nothing short of phenomenal for Belleville. To have an art show ranked across the nation as number 1 6 times in the last 10 years and 4 times number 2, so we've been first or second the last 10 years, and it's all volunteer committee. It's fabulous, and I want to give them a round of applause for everything they've done. They're probably, most of them are inside setting up. They helped in many ways. Patty and the committee commissioned this painting for Scott Air Force Base, which is beautiful. As mentioned, you'll see they put that piece of artwork on the tile mosaic wall there of the modern fountain, which is just, you'll really enjoy it. But Art on the Square has become an unbelievable, relatively new organization in this town, but has really put Belleville back on the map, like so much of our volunteer spirit has done. So as I wrap up here this morning, and I too hope I haven't forgotten, we have tried very hard to maintain the historic integrity of this building, and the architect, Charles King. Charles King's son came through about a week ago, and I wasn't here, but he talked to several of the ladies from Art on the Square because they were coaching the staff on how to hang some of the pictures, which we appreciated because we would all tell you we know nothing about how to place artwork. But James King was here, and he told one of the ladies, he said, "My father would be very pleased. He'd be very pleased with what you've done here." So that made me feel good. I want to say, as we wrap up my remarks, that it takes a lot of people to do a project like this. The city council had a lot of different votes, and we're still wrapping things up. And as you remodel, whether you're remodeling at home or whether you're remodeling your business or a community building, every time you open up a wall, there's something new you find. We found more asbestos, or we found a roof that was worse than we thought it was, or we thought that the boiler might last a few more years and it didn't, or that the glass didn't quite match exactly as we thought maybe we could kind of get by with saving some. So we had to constantly make some adjustments, but that's life. And I appreciate the council working together and understanding that we needed to do the best we could with the dollars we have to make this building safe, protect its integrity, and make it accessible by all. We had a great professional staff. Kenny Vaughn is my director of maintenance, and he was tasked daily, and he was tired. I'm sure he'll be glad because he'll probably get a lot less phone calls from me now that we're moved in. But it took a lot of people. The council chose Impact Strategies as the general contractor and the project manager of this project. They were worked with the Lawrence Group, and they were worked with Kaskaskia Engineering. The three of them were a package that we selected, the council selected. And I tell you, we made good choices, you guys made and gals, because they served us well, watching our dollars, making sure that sometimes we had to make some tough decisions, but that we made the right decision and just cut corners, that we did what was right. And it's been a very close partnership. We worked on the police station. This is really a three-phase project. We first had to get the policemen out of here and get them into 720 West Main, and if you haven't been to that building, we still would encourage you to go take a look. We're very proud. It was long overdue. They were squeezed in here for years with not near enough space, with jails on the second floor, no elevator, and it was definitely, it was not pretty. But we got the police station moved. Many of you were there that day. We dedicated that a year ago plus. And now we got City Hall remodeled, and the third phase will be when we can take a deep breath and afford it. We'll finish remodeling the police department empty portions that are not showing today. They're gutted out, the asbestos is gone, the new roof is on, the elevator's roughed in, because we never had an elevator in that building before. But we are eventually going to, hopefully, everything works out down the road here, we're going to get the rest of the third phase remodeled, and then we'll bring back, I propose at least, to bring back health and housing, engineering, and economic development to this building so that public services are, for the most part, basically under one roof. And it'll be more efficient, and it'll be able to work together like many of us do every day anyway. It'll make it more convenient and more productive. So we're working toward that goal, but it's going to take a little bit more time. So to all of you, I'm sure I forgot something. My good friend Russell, now Russell is a very active attorney in town, but what Russell didn't tell you, he said he admitted he was the chairman of the Fire and Police Commission. But what he didn't tell you that he's been doing this for 20 plus years. And Russell, with his knowledge and the way he worked with us through some challenging times back in the 90s, when the city was under a lot of a watchful eye with the Justice Department on hiring and different things, he has guided us and he has led us continuously in the right direction to the point that I think we are the model today of how things need to be done. I couldn't be more proud of my staff. There's many of them splattered throughout here, my department heads and people who have worked for the city for a lot of years. I can't thank you enough, because it's because of your daily efforts of why we are able to serve the citizens and make things happen. So again, thank you. Russell's gonna kind of guide us through the last moment or two, and then as they conclude, I hope you all come in and take a look around and see the work of so many hands, talented hands. The construction talent we have in this part of the country is fabulous, and this building project shows it again. So I thank you so much for being here today and being a part of this, and I'll turn it back to Russell.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for those kind words. You know, it's all about the pension. No, I've loved being the chairman of the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners. I've gained a huge respect for the men and women of the Belleville Fire Department and the men and women of the Belleville Police Department. The city of Belleville is blessed with two very professional, very competent, very understanding departments who keep us safe every day of the week. At this time, I would invite Pastor Hartz to come forward to give us the benediction, and then we will go straight from there into the Belleville Homecoming March of the Philharmonic Orchestra. Pastor Hartz.
Thank you. I've been a member of this community for about 5 years now, serving Trinity United Church of Christ, and And with my work with the poor and the homeless, I have witnessed God in action at work in this community, and the extraordinary people, in extraordinary events, and even in the everyday ordinary events in our lives. We've witnessed God at work, our inclusive God at work, even in the renovation of this building. And we've witnessed God at work today during this ceremony, as, you know, through the intercessory prayers of Joe Hubbard and Deacon Boyer, who are like this with God. We haven't had a drop of rain since this started. And so now, I would ask that you bow your heads as we receive this benediction. Go now in the excitement and sense of accomplishment that we have experienced here. Let us now depart in peace and in love and in charity with our neighbors. May we be joined together in the common goal of service to our God and to our community. And may God's blessing be with us all. Amen.
Thank you again to the Belleville Philharmonic. That's wonderful. That concludes our program. However, immediately following this program, there will be a ribbon cutting here back behind me, and I would ask that the members of the Chamber of Commerce who may want to gather around and be present for that ribbon cutting. I told you earlier that I'd be embarrassed because I didn't remember somebody, and I hadn't seen Mike Buellhorn back there, but he's the former mayor of Swansea, always a very good friend of Belleville, and we appreciate him being here. And of course, I'll take point of personal privilege to introduce the other members of the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, Linda Fields, the former clerk, and Dave Martinson, former fire chief. And I would just tell somebody that if the chairman of the zoning commission was the MC, he could introduce his crowd, but he didn't get to. But we do want to thank everyone here. I want to especially thank Aaron Clifford, the assistant to the mayor, who's been working extremely hard both last night and tonight, and Jenny, who's been running around like a crazy person this morning. I've seen her already this morning in about 3 different outfits just because she's trying to get it to be 2 or 3 different things at once. So we appreciate everybody coming. We really thank General Flournoy for being here. Thank Lynn. Thank Jay. I don't want to get myself in trouble again. And appreciate the day, and feel free after we're finished with the ribbon cutting to tour the City Hall. There are refreshments being provided by Art on the Square, and they're very nice, and enjoy yourself. Thank you for coming.
Very good, everybody. Okay, ready? Are you ready, Mayor? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Yay!